So hello, it's nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Um, Character much? Finn is a character. He also knows he's a character, right? Um, he says he poses for photos. It says he's very photo friendly. And I suppose you take a lot of photos with him, and so that is a thing with him. He's glad you really do that because people think he's really funny too. Like he has a sense of humor. Um, so tell me a little bit about what your question relates to around, you start with like the kids are begging to adopt another golden retriever. So what happens is I'll just give you the floor and let's talk.
Okay, first of all, you're spot on. He's the silliest dog I've ever owned. I've had dogs my whole life. We did adopt him from the Golden Retriever Rescue here about 4.5, 5 years ago. And the kids are begging for another one. And we feel bad because we don't know if he wants another dog or if the play dates we do with neighborhood dogs or another buddy of his are sufficient. But he's more energetic than the other Goldens we've had. So I look at him and think that he maybe is sad and lonely other than when we have a play date or when I'm walking him. So I was just curious if the play dates with friends' dogs are sufficient or if he's really lonely and wanting a playmate here. He does love attention, so I don't know if that would make him
I
jump.
just heard he loves to be the star of the show.
Yes.
Oh, yes. So definitely he loves that. He's wondering like, where is all this? He's heard the discussion, by the way. So he's been listening in and he's like, nobody's asking me, but oh, she's asking me. Okay, great. Because I have opinions, right? So how old is he?
He is going to be 6 in November.
And how old was he when you got him?
We were trying to remember. I think he was 6 months, 6 or 8 months old when we adopted him.
He's basically been with you his whole life, which he really feels part of the family. He feels like one of the kids, actually, very much. And he came in really wanting, part of his soul path is to know what family's like all the different roles in family, like son and brother or sister, and that kind of like, and unit, what does family mean? And so he says he's actually the funniest one of the family. He says he keeps you laughing. So why do you feel like the kids are wanting another one right now? What has triggered that?
I think they just love looking at the adoption site and seeing all these little puppies or 1 or 2-year-olds coming through. And it might even be me projecting because I'm always looking at him feeling guilty that he's just laying around while we're getting stuff done. And other than his 2 walks a day, if it's a day when a dog can't come over, I think I feel very guilty because I feel like he's in his prime and he's getting older. So, and dog parks don't do great. He's a little submissive. So he seems to get his butt kind of kicked if we go to dog parks. I don't know. That's another question. I don't know if a dog park, if he'd want to do that again or try that again.
Well, what would it look like in your home, you feel, with a new one? What's your intuition tell you?
I think I will be doing most of the work. The kids will love another dog, but I think there's a little anxiety on my part just for that of taking care of another, and financially, I mean, they're expensive if, going to the vet. So a little hesitation there pulling on me. And at the same time, I
would honor that, actually. That's why I asked you, because when I read that, I didn't feel like it wasn't a green light. In other words, for the box that you checked, it was more of a yellow light, like, I'll think about it, not so sure. And everybody's opinions really need to be considered, including Finn. So I love that you're actually asking him. He actually feels very content to me. He loves being there. He says that when he's sleeping, he's doing some work. He's working in another realm. So what we perceive as bored is actually them going within, and they got their own little world going on. I mean, Scarlett back here is like out. And the minute we stop, she'll probably get up and she'll know we're finished. So they actually hold the space. So she helps energetically. So I'm wondering with him when he's laying down like that, if that's his way of kind of balancing the energy in the house, because he does bring a lively kind of disruption to the show, he wouldn't object. So I don't feel like he would stand in the way of that, but he's a little curious about, well, what would this dog look like, and what's her personality, and when would they come, like where would they sleep, that kind of thing. So, unless you're all on board, I would pump the brakes a little bit on it, just to see, because it's not a hard no, but it's not a full-blown yes either. So when we're in that kind of state, I would honor your feelings and how you feel about it. You're part of the equation too, just like Finn is. But we don't want to overload one person. And, it's almost like when you have kids and they're like, oh, mom, can I have a brother? Like, can I have a sister? Like, and we would not necessarily like dole that out, right? We were like, no, or yeah, like it would be our choice, right? It would be not dictated by our children. So I'm not saying there's anything wrong with what they're doing, but I'm sensing that if you have one come, it'll be a pop-up like, oh, I see this is going to be a great fit. So right now you're trying in your head to figure it all out, when really it's important, because it's so hard when you have a family and you have like to dial into what your own sense is, because we're so influenced by everybody's energy, that it's good if you can single it out, like, well, if I didn't have all this influence here, what would I feel? And you already said, well, it's a little bit much, and I've already got a lot on me, and you listed a whole things. If it's meant to come through and another one's meant to come, you don't have to orchestrate that. So it's all in animals, from my experience and from what I've been taught, come at the right time. And I always tell people, pay attention to when they come and pay attention to when they pass, because it's always orbiting around that. Always. There's something going on in your life, whether there's a transition of some kind, a divorce, some kind of situation that all of a sudden that soul needs to come in, and they slide right in. And then the same thing happens as they pass or when they leave. I always say, look at what's going on around you. So I don't know if this helps. I don't feel like he's suffering any. He loves he actually loves the limelight, loves it. Don't feel like if it were the right match, I feel like he'd be just fine. And I feel like that's something you're gonna know, just like you knew about him. He says you knew about him, by the way. How'd you know that?
I feel like our other golden, I had just been recovering from cancer. And I think I was finally getting good news, and that's when he passed, and I was devastated. But I was told that, just like what you said, is that he transitioned when he knew we were in a good place. And so we always laugh at this guy and say, Oliver sent you because you were super funny. You're the goofiest dog, and you knew we needed to laugh at this point. We need lighthearted after going through that. So.
Absolutely. If one is to come, it will come exactly that way.
So it doesn't mean it wouldn't be an adoption. It could be that still, but the timing would just be in perfect order.
They've come in all different ways for me. I mean, I'm not kidding. It's not normal. I mean, I'll dream and they'll come. And there was a time in my life I would have dreams about, one coming, and I'd literally go out and like duck, because it was like, not another one. Like, you got to be kidding me. So, and they would show up. It was bizarre. And so at any rate, it's not so important the form in which they come. So I always tell people, if it's a breeder or a rescue, or you see them on the road or whatever, the animals get to us and the souls get to us exactly how they need to. And that's how we know.
Perfect.
So that hopefully will take that like off your shoulders to be like the bad guy.
For sure.
Work with him on it. You'll be able to sense. I 100% know that. And he says he'll tell you. He says you talk to him all the time anyway.
All the time. Perfect. Thank you. That was really helpful. I really appreciate it.
Welcome.
Thank you.